Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Michael Wald, and thank you so much for joining me for what I hope is a concise, short, but practical conversation about PTSD, what I call the PTSD disaster, as well as some natural approaches and some of the medical approaches that are used for this condition. I'll begin by saying that the information that I'm presenting today is not meant to replace sound medical advice for those with PTSD or any health problem, but it's meant for your educational use only. So let's start with a definition. What is PTSD to begin with? Post-traumatic stress disorder, that's the abbreviation, is a mental health condition triggered by experiencing or witnessing a traumatic event. It affects one's emotionality, it's one's psychological health, and physical well-being. Some of the symptoms include re-experiencing, which means people go through flashbacks and nightmares and intrusive thoughts that seem to be ever present. And then there's avoidance, where the person will try to avoid reminders of the initial trauma or traumas of the PTSD. And then there's hyperarousal, that's irritability, insomnia, difficulty concentrating, and being easily startled. And then there are negative cognition issues such as guilt and shame and feelings of detachment. And some of the causes have been combat exposure, different types of abuse, both physical and emotional, natural disasters, or other life-changing events. The list is quite long in terms of potential triggers for PTSD. And next, we should all keep in mind that this is a problem that does not seem to be going away. Approximately 5% of U.S. adults experience PTSD in a given year, and 5% of adults is 16.7 million adults. Also, approximately 8% of women and 4% of men will experience PTSD at some point in their lives. Let's talk about some of the standard medical interventions. One is psychotherapy, which is the primary approach, and sometimes that will include a cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which helps identify and change negative thought patterns. I'm a big fan of CBT. And also prolonged exposure therapy, which is gradual exposure to a trauma or its reminders to reduce the fear reactions. And then there are eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or EDMR, which uses guided eye movements to reprocess trauma. And in terms of the medications, in traditional medicine, the SSRIs or SNRIs are the first-line medications, such as sertraline, and there are others, which help reduce anxiety and depression. I tend to see people who do not want medications. They want natural approaches instead, and we go ahead and we do that. And there are anti-anxiety or mood-stabilizing medications. There's ketamine therapy, and there's MDMA-assisted therapy. All of these you can look up in more detail, but I just wanted to mention them here so you knew they existed. And in addition, I find it very important to look at a person holistically that suffers from PTSD. And I don't just mean that in terms of just the words, holistic. What that implies is looking at whatever is available from wherever it is available for that person. If it can help, we want to at least consider it. So whether it's medications or regular standard therapy in medicine. And then in my field, the blood detective method for PTSD also includes putting a person on an anti-inflammatory diet that is also based on their needs. What do I mean by that? So certain foods for some people are pro-inflammatory, and that may cause the nervous system to become hyperstimulated or may lower the nervous system's threshold to reacting to stressors. So if we can reduce or mitigate that stress response by affecting someone's biochemistry with diet, we can do it. So we just have to determine for each person what the diet component should be. Obviously, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, naturally oriented foods, not sugary, refined, processed white flour type foods. But then I'd have to, through a nutritional consultation, a nutritional visual examination, and through laboratory tests, determine, well, what nutritional supplements and foods might help this person so that I can give them the proper food plan, which has to be doable. It can't be neurotic. And also recommend certain supplements which help to which provide concentrated forms of nutrition for that person. For example, if I want a person to get 1,000 milligrams of magnesium a day, they're not going to do that reliably by eating foods, even if the foods are supposedly high in magnesium. I want to give them magnesium in a supplement form. There are different forms of magnesium, there's different forms of vitamin C, there's different proteins. All of the nutrition must be determined. As a board-certified nutritionist and dietitian with a few doctorates, I can use laboratory work, do physical exams, and figure out the biochemical uniqueness of each person's PTSD. And then there's blood sugar balance and stabilizing energy and mood. So that's extremely important. The nervous system relies on glucose as an energy source. It relies on medium chain triglycerides, which produce ketones, which are great for the nervous system. So a high ketone diet is important for many of those suffering from PTSD. And then, of course, we want to eliminate caffeine and other stimulants like alcohol and stressful events, for example, and other triggers that we need to identify for each person. In addition, in terms of supplementation, I'm going to give you a quick short list of some supplements, but please don't confuse this list with me saying to you that I'm not saying that these are the most important supplements. I have to know the individual with PTSD to figure that out. Because other health problems that a person with PTSD has, let's say they have cardiovascular disease, high cholesterol, well, that tells me they probably need omega-3 fatty acids. And since omega-3 fatty acids form a major component of the brain itself, that's probably more important than, let's say, GABA or threonine, which are just other supplements. My point is, a skilled clinician will figure out the best testing and the best nutritional compounds, and then how much of those compounds should come from foods, how much of those compounds should come from nutritional supplementation. And then we have vitamin D. Very important to help stabilize what's called neuroplasticity, which is the brain and nervous system's ability to repair itself. We have abnormal neuroplasticity with those who suffer from PTSD. So the amount of vitamin D should be between 70 and 100 on a blood test. Most doctors are satisfied with 30 to 50 as a level on the blood for vitamin D. That is too low in my opinion. Then the use of various vitamins, for example, B6, magnesium, that's a mineral, and other nutrients which help enzymes work, and enzymes run all the different reactions in the body. Probiotics, which are not just for the intestinal tract, but there are specific types of probiotics which are particularly good for neurologic and emotional health and have been studied actually quite well in anxiety and depression, for example. And then the careful use of adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, for example, or rhodiola, which help regulate the stress response. And then I mentioned threonine earlier, which is also good for the relaxation response. The doses have to be based on the size of the person, their body mass, what their blood levels are. But once we get all that down, we know we can give a person what they need, and nutritionally speaking, and then they'll respond much better to therapy, life coaching, and exercise. So as you can see on this slide, exercise is, of course, very important. It helps to elevate mood, reduces stress, even helps sleep. And then we want to think of mindfulness, maybe meditations or yoga or Tai Chi, activities like that, which the person can engage in, which will help teach them how to cope better. And the stress management also might include deep breathing and other relaxation techniques like biofeedback. And then social supports, where we want the person to have a strong network of friends and family and health coaches to get through all of this. So that's pretty much it right now for this brief introduction. You've been listening to Dr. Michael Wald, I'm the Blood Detective, and this has been a holistically minded approach because we look at a variety of areas: stress, foods, chemicals, toxins, labs, all areas of medicines to do the tests. We approach the person from a holistic approach. We look for hidden problems. We correct their nutrition in ways that are doable for them. And the testing, as I keep mentioning, may come from several different medical specialties at once. And traditional doctors today do not do not like to test outside of their specialty. So that is a limiting factor for the optimal overall health management of persons with PTSD as far as I am concerned. So ultimately a person will get the proper exercise recommendations, food recommendations, supplement recommendations, sleep recommendations, and stress coping emotional recommendations. Feel free to contact me if you have any other questions or concerns. I am offering a free 15-minute consultation to discuss your needs with you. So you can call me at 914-552-1442, or you can email me at info@blooddetective.com, and certainly check out all the free content that you'll find on www.drmichaelwald.com. Thanks a lot. See you at the next one.